Before we begin, thank you very much to Aaron M. for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for signing up. Do appreciate it. Thank you very much for the supporting the channel and helping to make sure that this can keep going. I do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. I'm not going to spend too long on the shout out today because, frankly, I am exhausted. I'm not gonna lie. There's been some rough things going on the last couple days that have kept me from getting a lot of sleep, so I'm gonna make it real simple today. And I'm going to answer a Patreon request that is normally something I do not do. Before we do this, let us make this abundantly clear. This is not me asking for anything to be sent to me. This isn't even asking for anyone to sell me things. The request was to talk about the toys that I have always wanted but could never get. And you know what? I don't want to invite anything because of that. You know, and I understand there's some of you who've been very generous out there. Some of you have been incredibly generous. But I don't want this video to come across as, please send me these things, I want them. That's not what this is about, okay? So no one get that crossed. We're just talking about a universal experience of, these are the things that were never part of my collection because the money wasn't right at the time, now it's too expensive to get, never had an opportunity at one in the right condition, etc., etc. Universal experience. I will admit, I'm not entirely clear if the request was for toys that exist that I never got, or toys I've always wanted that don't exist. We'll probably do both. I think I've done both at one time, but we'll consider this an update. You'll also notice that the lead slide here on this episode is Swindle, mostly because a lot of this is just cost prohibitive. I will be honest with you guys, I really don't have trouble getting a hold of any of my grails these days. You know, like my grail for the longest time was Star Saber, but I've owned one for like 15 years now, which is scary to think about. What the grail that moved on and took over was G1 Overlord. And guess what? I got one last year. Still need to do the whole video about that story. Point being, everything that's kind of left is mostly just cost prohibitive. You know, they're either so expensive I can't justify it, or when I have the money for it, there's never a good one available. And we'll get into some examples of that. But first off, let's get the Transformers out of the way, and we will talk about some that are just plain too expensive for me to get. For instance, Dawn of Futures Past. I've said it before. I think this is the best set that FunPub ever did. It's brilliant. Take all the futuristic vehicles of Cybertron and recast them as Beast Wars characters before they came to Earth. It's a really genius idea for a BotCon set of toys. You know, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know, especially considering the time frame of this, Beast Wars was not getting a lot of love. So to do something this creative, this caught a lot of people's attention, and rightfully so. This was like peak BotCon inspiration. The toys from it are really, really cool. I owned exactly one of them. I owned the Dinobot for a while. Kind of regret selling it. Sold it because it would drive me nuts to go get the rest. It would drive me to the poorhouse to go get the rest. This is one of the most expensive BotCon box sets you could possibly find now, second only to Shattered Glass's first run. Though, that said, I don't think I've seen a BotCon toy as expensive as the Megatron from this set. I think the Megatron from this set outsells the original BotCon exclusive Breakdown toy. I want to say that's accurate, because last time I checked, the Megatron was worth literally thousands. Point being, it's cost prohibitive. They are on eBay. I will never be able to afford one. Never. Something that might be affordable someday, Death Sorus. Mostly because, yeah, I have a Star Saber, so it makes sense to actually have Death Sorus to go in a shelf alongside him. If I'm going to have the Autobot hero, might as well have his villainous one. Oh, but doesn't that mean you should want Victory Leo as well? No. Actually, no. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't heard it before, I don't like the Victory Saber combination. I just don't. You know, it adds boots that make his proportions really weird. It adds a wing pack you can barely see because of his big shoulders, and it adds a couple guns that you might not even notice. It's not a fun, interesting combination for me. I find it very lackluster and kind of boring. So I've never really been after Victory Leo. Had a chance to buy a Victory Leo, all like near complete, from the same BotCon where I got Star Saber, and passed on it. And I don't really regret that. I really don't, kinda, but not really. I would rather have the Death Sorus. And the HasLab scratched that itch, but it's like, I have the vintage. So that part of me wants to have the vintage of this one too. I want to have the Death Chicken as well. This one is mostly just opportunity prohibitive. I haven't found one in a good condition when things were running well. So, simple as that. I've just not gone around to it yet. I would say in like the cases like this, I would really want to find one in person. Like, I wouldn't want to order one online. I'd actually want to see the condition, mess with the joints, actually know that it's actually like worth spending the big money on. That's what happened with Overlord. I found it in person. Again, I'll tell you later. Here's one I was very easy for me to get at one time and just completely whiffed on it. Do you remember when this set was like $25 on clearance? Some ridiculously cheap price to get what was essentially the only US release of like God Jinrai. Yeah, for those again new to the channel, my G1 Optimus Prime was not the original 84 toy. My childhood Optimus Prime was the Power Master. And that's still my preferred way of seeing Optimus Prime as a toy. It's just way more fun. As soon as I can get a hold of as soon as I get a chance, I'm getting the Super Jinrai. I canceled my pre-order because I didn't know how money would be when it came out. Money's running pretty good right now. I'm going to have to see if I can't scrounge up an in-stock listing somewhere. But no, like, I don't know why I passed on this so many times. And now it's crazy expensive to get a hold of. To get my original, my childhood Optimus Prime upgraded and with a buddy. I don't know why I passed on it. I still don't. It confuses me too. Maybe someday. I don't think it's like horribly expensive to get a hold of one of these. Especially since Takara reissued it as well. There's a bunch floating around now. I could not afford this guy when he came out because he was just ridiculously expensive. And now it's weird because I realized I'm redoing a lot of the shelves in my room right now to set up my studio. And I realized that I have almost every Beast Wars Masterpiece toy, except for two. Tigatron, which I'm kind of like, if I had a good chance to buy one, I probably wouldn't pass it up. And this Megatron. And this Megatron is, again, ludicrously expensive for what it is right now. I think when I passed on it, it was like I didn't like how all the armor came off. That just made me feel like the toy would end up flimsy. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't put faith in Takara's like engineering work on that one. Point being, it basically just came down to just cost prohibitive. I couldn't buy it at the time, and I certainly can't really justify buying it now. But it sucks because, like, I'm so close on all of the other Beast Wars Masterpiece toys that, like, if they start in on Predacons and we hear about, like, Waspinator coming next, I'm really gonna wish I had gotten the Megatron. I'm counting on a reissue because there's no other way they could actually use this mold in Japan. Don't tell me about T-Rex. That wouldn't work as a masterpiece in Japan. The Legacy, like the Kingdom one, didn't even work in America. So no. No. The only hope they have is to just reissue it. And they might. You never know. Every now and then a masterpiece works its way back around. I'm hoping this one does too. But they're not all big. Like, not all the ones I'm after and never really got are big. I still don't have a Ratbat. I have almost every cassette figure there is. I've got I've got the combiners even. But I do not have Ratbat because it's so hard to find one in complete condition thanks to those stupid little ears. Most of those cassettes you find don't even have their guns. And then Ratbat had the added caveat of he's got these little C-clipped in ears that you also have to make sure exist. The thing to him is he's probably the most knocked off Transformer of all time. Like, there's so many people with those missing ears that there's a ton of knockoff Ratbats out there. It'd be so easy to just get one of those and just say, hey, here's a complete set of cassettes. It's not totally complete. I have a Slugfest. I don't have an Overkill. I know, weird. Just kind of how it worked out. So Overkill's on the list as well, but Ratbat's way higher because Ratbat's a way cooler character. Thank you, Marvel Comics. So yeah, it's not all giant ones. Most are. And again, for a cassette, he is kind of expensive, so it still kind of applies here. Here's an odd one. And this one I've had so many opportunities to buy. I really like how this mold works as Scourge. I really like how it works as Scourge, or Black Convoy, technically, since that's the release here. And I think it does what a lot of Black Convoy repaints do, which is it takes the vehicle modes of this toy that are kind of messy, as Optimus and Octane, and it smooths them out with the consistent black and blue color scheme. You know, the jet mode, I think, looks way better than what Prime and even Octane looks like. You know, it just kind of, like, brings everything together a lot better. And more importantly, I do expect that Octane mold to be extinct at some point soon, considering they've done Astro Train and Blitzwing already. I'm just kind of like counting down the days until we get a leader class Octane. So if I'm going to hold on to that mold, and I do want to hold on to that mold because I kind of like it. I think it's a nice little fiddle figure. I would want it in this color scheme. I think it's a fun way of using the Scourge concept. You know, also just kind of makes sense to me that like the Decepticon version of Prime would be a triple changer. You know, just for that added layer of like show off and added power. But this one I've had so many opportunities to buy. Like every time I'm at an import, like every time I'm browsing at like an import shop out of Japan, they have one in stock. I hover over the mouse, I add it to the cart, I see how I look at the price, I see what else I'm getting. Inevitably, I always cut this one. And now the price is starting to go up on it. I'm like, okay, I missed an opportunity there. So the truth to this, however, the truth to this list is, frankly, I do have most of my grails and most desired toys from Transformers. I really don't have a problem anymore getting the things that I want as they come out, so I never really miss anything. You know, and if I do miss things, it's completely intentional, and I have yet to run across anything that I've skipped in recent years that made me go, man, I wish I had gone back to get that. But there are, so if I'm really going to talk about the things that have always gotten away from me, the things I've always wanted and never gotten, we have to go to Japan, and we have to get to a few other toy lines. So let's put Transformers aside. We'll go into Power Rangers. One of my grails is the original Muteki Shogun. Not just the Shogun Megazord. I have one of those. I would love a complete one. Like with the weapons, the sword, which is die-cast in Japan, the proper emblems, which got remolded for the American release, and I like the actual ones a lot better. And, of course, the white arm instead of the pink. I really, really want this. Muteki Shogun is one of those where, honestly, it never goes for... It's not horribly expensive when I see it online. Like, I could do PayPal Pay in 4 and kind of, like, sort of, you know, get by and, like, pay that off a bit at a time. And I'd be okay with that. It's the fact that all of those weapons... All the weapons are so hard to get a hold of. To get one that has all 5 still, that's the trick. That's where this gets really difficult. Even the American Shogun Megazord is hard to find in complete condition. So yeah, I'm still after my Muteki Shogun. And as long as we're talking Japanese Zords, talk about hard to find complete. I don't know what it is. I guess because this is primarily a little kid's toy, but Engine OG-12 is nearly impossible to find with all of the engine souls intact. For those who do not know Sentai, all of these vehicle toys came with a little sound effect box that you plugged into them in order to make them, quote, come to life. And it had the voice clips of the characters, it had the sound effects they made in the show, etc. You know, it's a neat little gimmick. And this toy has 12 of them. 12 of them. And I can never find a listing that has all of them. Even as I found pictures of these on eBay, there is one who has all the parts, and they have a plethora of extra engine souls, except for number 11. So even that one is still missing a necessary engine soul for one of the main mechs. It hurts me. I hate it. But that said, the toy's functionality seems so much fun. So for those who don't realize with this, there are technically 4 Megazords in there, for lack of better terminology. Said Megazords have swappable limb parts, so you have a lot of functionality and fun there. You have the main one that can upgrade and combine into Engine Node G6, and then G9, and then G12. You have a ton of playability across all 12 of these guys. And it's like a 2-foot-tall combination when it's done. Like, it's Fort Max size. Yes, I want it. No, I will never have it. You want big, no, not bigger. Not quite bigger, but, like, also big, and also ones like, I'm never gonna get it. So this is a figure from X Plus. What you're seeing is one of their gigantic vinyls of the original, what we know is the original Megazord. In Japan, Daijujin. This one is a dream figure of mine because it's the only time I have ever seen Daijujin rendered to be screen accurate. All of the ones I've seen have elements of the toys left in, or the proportions are closer to the toy. If it separates, then it's keeping the toy proportions with the huge chest, you know, and it doesn't look right. Like, even when they do just basic action figure stuff of this Megazord, it's never quite accurate to how it looked in the show. X Plus did an amazing job recreating the look of the actual suit. The suit from the actual monster fight footage. This looks like a mini version of it, and I love that. And I wish some company would do a figure like that, and they don't. It's frustrating and annoying, but I love how this looks. I would love it. It'd be such a nice display piece. Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it. Let's move into my other obsession. There's 2 Mega Man toys that skip by me, and I've never been able to go back and get. This one is the Falcon Armor X from Ryobone. This is one of the sickest looking Mega Man toys I've ever seen. I will admit, this one is not terribly cost prohibitive. Technically, I could go grab one right now. That said, it's still pretty pricey. Even when it was brand new, this was like $150. Because Ryobone don't kid around. Like, it is very high quality stuff all throughout this thing. There's LEDs, there's die-cast parts. It's nuts. It's ridiculous. And it's super cool. It's one of Mega Man X's best armor sets, and it's a really, really rendered well here. And stylized in just the right way, to where, like, you can tell there's a lot more interesting stuff going on, but it's not overkill. It still looks like the right design. Like to see that. The other one I never had a chance to get when it first came out because it was a New York Comic Con exclusive. But oh my god, it's one of the most gorgeous toys I've ever seen. This is X Kai. So, oh man, I can't remember the company offhand that made this one. True Force. They made a Mega Man that looked super cool. Again, stylized, heavily stylized, in a way that actually works really, really well. I have that one. This one was New York Comic Con exclusive as a way of basically creating an evil version of X. And yeah, it takes heavily from Base. Mega Man's like Wily equivalent doppelganger from the later classic games. This is a super cool figure. It's so nice looking. A new one in box currently goes for over $400. It's a 6-inch figure. I cannot justify $400 for a 6-inch figure. There's just nothing in me that can actually stand to do it. I want it so bad. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. But I'm not paying $400 just for pretty. You know, I will pay that for my girlfriend who is pretty, but I will not spend that on a piece of pretty plastic. I just can't do that. No. $400 is like go to Disney money. Not like I'm gonna buy one repaint figure money. That's one where like I love it. I want it. Sensibility kicks in hard on this one. Here's another one that I could technically get right now, but it's still kind of brutal. So I really liked the Netflix Shirai series. Like, really liked it. Like, when season 5 dropped, I stayed up late. It dropped at 3 in the morning, and I stayed up and binged the entire season before I went to bed. It was like 9 a.m. You can tell I didn't have a day job at the time. Oh, but it was worth it. The show is so good. And I am still angry that this is such a mess of licensing that you still cannot get brand new stuff, not even Funko Pops of these two, or anyone from the cast, because the ownership is split amongst, like, DreamWorks and Mattel, and I think Netflix has a chunk of it, and it's just exhausting, and I've skipped on them. These were $70 at the time of their original release, so $35 each, which I thought was crazy for two action figures that had basically 90s level articulation. And this was Super 7. Like, why did you skimp out on, like, actual functional toys here? You know, just do, like, $55 figures with high articulation. Like, I feel like they were cautious the same way Mattel was, because Mattel just licensed this as girl toys. You know, they did a few Barbie-esque dolls. They did one role-play set with the sword. That's basically it. They didn't really go too far with it. And they didn't provide the toys that everybody wanted, which were, like, screen-accurate action figures. Go figure, girls are starting to like those too. So yeah, the whole thing was, like, horribly mismarketed merchandise-wise, so we never got anything good. And this is about the only good screen-accurate thing that exists. Again, about $350 these days. Yeah, still can't pull the trigger on that one. And I'm going to wrap this up with the one that I usually talk about when this kind of topic comes up. Because this is my personal obsession. This is my personal grail. You know, I tell you that all my Transformer stuff, yeah, I pretty much got. It's the stuff that's outside that gets harder for me. And this one in particular. This is the Johto League Champion Scyther. So rare that this is the level of picture you get. It's a crunchy photo because that's all that really exists. This is incredibly rare. This was a late run figure. Very, very botched production cycle. Very few made it out to stores. The last time I saw one sell in package on eBay, the packaging was as badly damaged as you could possibly imagine. Card folded over, everything crinkled. The bubble was still holding a mint figure onto the cardboard, but everything else was trashed. It's still sold for over $600, well out of my price range. I've still not been able to obtain one, technically. I do actually own one. It does not have its wings. The more annoying thing about only not having a complete... You know, the only thing that's more annoying than, like, not having it is having one but knowing it's incomplete and I will likely never find the parts I need. I keep hoping I'll find one where, like, the arms are broken off or, like, the head is another piece that's easy to come off on this figure. I was hoping, like, okay, I'll find a headless one that'll still have its wings and I'll get out of it for, like, $50. Nope. Had saved searches on eBay for, like, a decade for this guy. It barely ever pings anything. So the search for this one continues. At least for a complete one, it continues. I have, there is also a shiny one that I've seen floating around. Goes for less because people want the normal colors more. That one ain't cheap either. I've had very little opportunity for either. But you know what? Fingers crossed. So I hope that satisfies the curiosity of everybody out there. Where even me, who has a toy-based life, both on YouTube as well as in my day job, there are still toys that even I cannot track down. Toys that I do not have the opportunity or financial ability to buy. There's just some things beyond me. So that's the list. That's just me kind of sharing my collecting laments, things that I wish I'd gotten when they were available, things I really wish I was rich for. But that is your cue to leave a comment below telling me what toy you have always wanted that never ended up in your possession. It could be anything. Doesn't have to be Transformer. I'm literally just curious just how wide the spectrum is. Tell me your collectible dream, your holy grail. And we can all kind of share in our lack of finances together. So that's it for the day. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
You've been waiting a long time, haven't you? But the wait's almost over. You're about to meet the brightest star in the universe. We're going to make an impact.